So before we start, I request you all to close your eyes for a moment. And imagine this. No hospital, no stethoscope, no technology, no use of AI or ChatGPT, and yet the patients are being treated successfully. It sounds unbelievable, right? But it ain't just a fiction, it's just the beginning of medical education evolution. A journey from Gurukul to Google, a journey from Sacker text to the smart technology. A very good afternoon everyone, I am Prerna and I along with my team members will take you across how the medical education evolved across the centuries to become what we experience today. Starting from the content wherein we have the meaning of medical education, the importance of studying its evolution and the overview of the historical phases in which we have divided it into the four phases. We can say it as like the ancient phase, the medieval phase, modern phase and digital phase. Introducing the evolution of medical education. Medical education in ancient time, we will start from ancient India. The medical education in ancient India was rooted in Ayurveda. Ayurveda, we all know that Ayurveda is also known as the science of life, right? And at that time, the medical education in ancient India, it was very highly developed, systematic, it was deeply respected, it combined all the theory, practical knowledge, all the spiritual and beliefs of ethics. Then we have this Gurukul system, we all know that in our own Indian ancient native language. What is the ancient Indian native language?
Sanskrit.
Sanskrit, yeah. So in Sanskrit, what we call student?
Shishya.
And what we call the teacher? Guru. So based on this Shishya and Guru stuff, it was a Gurukul system which was based, and at that time the Guru and Shishya, they both they used to live together in a Gurukul, and this course of duration was around like 6 to 7 years, wherein and we all know that right now in this situation, if we want to get admission into a certain decent college, so we have to pass some kind of entrance examination. Like in India, we have to give NEET, right? So at that time, this kind of examinations were not there. So what qualities they were checking in a student? So they were checking like whether the student is intelligent enough, whether he or she have the moral characters, whether they have discipline or not. And after this criteria, they used to take admission. Then we have this medical text. So we have taken three most popular common texts, which is Charka Samhita, then we have Sushruta Samhita, then we have Kashyap Samhita. Charka Samhita, it focuses mainly on the internal medicine, which is also known as Kaya Chikitsa. Then we have Sushruta Samhita, it focused mainly on the surgery, which is also known as Shalya Chikitsa. Then we have Kashyap Samhita. Kashyap Samhita is one of the most highly advanced classical texts which is written in the Ayurveda, and it focused mainly on women-child healthcare. Then we have practical training in ancient Indian medical evolution. The students during the ancient India, they used to believe in learning by doing rather than just focusing on the theoretical knowledge. So at that time, they were not directly given the priority, to directly perform on the human body. So what they used to do, they used to observe the senior physicians or all the senior, like the doctors of that time, and then they used to perform it on the body. Then we have ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt also remarked a great contribution. Just can't get back, so that's why I just pulled it. Okay. So ancient Egypt also remarked a great contribution in the history of medical education evolution. Edwin Smith Papyrus, he contributed in the trauma care and surgical methods. Then we have this kind of, it's a very interesting fact that Edwin Smith Papyrus, he wrote the medical text. Like in the Smith, that papyrus sheet, which is made up of the papyrus plant, which is also known as Sapphirus papyrus. And he used to wrote that medieval ancient text in that papyrus sheet. Then we have this medical education in ancient Greece. So it was a huge turning point in the history of medical education evolution. Because at this point, disease was no longer seen as a punishment which is given by God. It was seen as a natural phenomena. So that's a great impact in the series of ancient medical education evolution. Then we'll start from the medieval period, which is like 8th to 13th century. Arab and Islamic contribution. Okay, so the Arab and Islamic scholars, they were considered as the guardians of the ancient medical education system. Also, they preserved and collected the work of Hippocrates, Galen, also the ancient Indian classical text of Charkha and Sushruta. Establishment of hospitals. Okay, so I was waiting for this slide. I'm just so curious to tell you all that the Bimaristan was the first truly based hospital which was ever established in the world. And the very interesting fact of this hospital is that it was open for all. It was also considered as a truly based hospital in which they had, a treatment for which was given to everyone. There were separate wards for surgery, medicine, education, research, and everything. Then we have medical education in Europe. The establishment of universities. The medical education in medieval Europe was also a huge turning point in the history of medical education, because at this point the establishment of universities like the Paris University, Bologna University, then Oxford University. We all know the Oxford University. It was also established at that time, which had really had a great impact that time. And as I have said that in the medieval Europe, the study was most forwarded in the theory based, like more theoretical knowledge. As I have told you that there were Oxford University, Bologna University, Paris universities. So all the professors, they were used to focus mainly on the theoretical knowledge. Unlike in India, as I have told that in India, the ancient students, they used to believe in more learning by doing rather than just teaching. Renaissance period. The background of the Renaissance marked a huge rebirth of the medical education evolution. It emphasized humanism, encouraging the direct study of nature and human dissection, wherein the students were allowed to do the human dissection directly rather than just learning from any diagram or animal skeleton. They were used to perform the human dissection. As we can see in this PPT, the systematic human dissection was reintroduced and it was accepted, and it was for the first time ever in the history of medical education wherein the students were allowed to perform the human dissection, obviously under the supervision of the trained physicians and doctors. Then we have modern medical education. Modern medical education, it mainly developed around 19th to 20th century, and it was also a major turning point for the history of medical education evolution, because at this point the study was no longer limited only up to classrooms or libraries, because at this point so many websites, like during the during 1990s, there was such kind of, the websites were open like e-medicine, and there were sites wherein the medical students were allowed, they had this kind of opportunity that they can learn overall worldwide. So there were no limitations. And this is all the references which we took. And a very simple and very short conclusion of this PPT is that though the medical education changed across the time, but its purpose remained the same, which was to save the life of people. And we also, as being the future doctors, we also have a further contribution of it in future. And thank you for your kind attention. Now I would like to invite my respective team members here.